Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 23 MyTeam career mode. If you did miss the last episode, around Kota, Charles Leclerc got the double win. He got the sprint race and he got the Grand Prix win. He also takes over P2 in the championship, as it was a horrible weekend for championship leader Max Verstappen and ourselves. We scored points in both the sprint race and the Grand Prix as well. So a very good weekend for ourselves as we now take a look at the performance chart, and it is getting very close at the top. The top 5 teams all extremely close together in performance comparison. Ourselves, we've actually paused our R&D for the moment as we're focusing on the regulation changes. So this is all of the regulation changes that we've got, and this is where that saving up of all of those R&D points is going to come in handy, as we can now just mass purchase essentially all of these R&D components that could potentially get stripped away from us in the regulation change, as we now get ready to go into our first practice session this week. And remember, it is another sprint race weekend, so we're only going to get the one practice session in. The game does still use last year's sprint weekend, but I'm going to essentially treat it as if it is this year's format. So only the one practice session for ourselves so far this weekend, as we go straight into our race strategy program. And we're actually showing really good pace at the moment. We're 1.3 seconds up on our delta, so it's a very good sign straight off the bat to see that we're actually already so far ahead of where we have to be, and we're actually 2/10 down on our previous best lap time, and we're actually still P1 on the medium set of tyres when it comes around to the tyre wear program, and we are half a second down on our previous best lap time, but it's going to be another quick lap time in the end. We're like 2 seconds up on the delta for the tyre wear program as we now head into our energy usage program. You can see there on the graph quite easily where I'm using up my energy, and actually quite a bit there in this middle sector, but we save it all up in that last sector for the run down the main straight. And we do end up finishing P8 on the medium tyre, so that's not too bad, considering there's only 4 cars in front of us also on the medium tyre. That makes me feel very confident actually going forward into qualifying now. And it's a bit overcast, so the soft tyres should be nice and grippy in this session, as the track temperature is not going to be too high, and it's going to provide hopefully maximum grip on these soft tyres that we actually haven't run yet so far this weekend. So probably should have done a lap or two on those soft tyres during practice session, and Sergio Perez sets the pace nice and early, but we're going to ruin the party actually. I reckon we're on an absolute flyer, a 1:09 flat. So as we now come around to do another qualifying lap, we've done a cool down lap, and this is on the same set of tyres, so this is our scrub set of tyres. We set a purple middle sector, and we go 2/10 faster, and we ended up finishing Q1 in P4. Forgot to mention as well, we got a 5-place grid penalty as well. We've had to take another component change, as I don't think if you took notice during practice, we had a couple of worn components, so we really needed to get those changed out, considering that in parc fermé conditions we'll have to do the sprint race and the main Grand Prix, as well as qualifying all in these same set of engine components. So just had to make sure that what we had will last, as we tried to go for another lap on the scrub tyres. As last session it did work quite well, going for a second push lap, but unfortunately locked it up on the grass, and it will not be improving, as now we're looking like we're actually going to be improving once again to try and boost ourselves into Q3. It's going to be tight. We're currently P9, but Magnussen's going to slow right up on the apex of turn 7, which is a really crap spot for him to decide to park the bus to try and get out of our way, as he just slams it. That's usually about where I'll try to aim for my apex as we come flying by, already sideways with a heap of oversteer. As Fernando Alonso tops the session, so the Aston Martin's definitely looking like a quick car so far, as well as the McLaren. And if you remember from the start of the episode when we're looking at the performance chart, essentially everyone who's in the top 10 at the moment, bar myself and Pierre Gasly in the Alpine, they're all in the top 5 teams that are very close to each other in the performance charts. As we now head on to the end of our first qualifying lap, it should be a half decent lap. We're looking like a mid-9. It's a 9.2, so that's going to put us P7, so we definitely can go faster. Remember, we did I think it was like an 8.8 or something like that in the first qualifying session, so we really need to try and pull something out of the bag here, as we're actually going to stick along for a full lap here, just to try and get an understanding of how much grip we've actually got on these soft tyres, because this car feels absolutely wicked at the moment as we head through turn 4, using all the road on the exit to go through turn 5, and now the run up the hill. This is where you can start to lose a little bit of pace if you don't have the engine power to get the car up this steep hill. We run a little bit wide, but we did have to lift off the throttle, so I don't think we actually gained any time from going that wide, considering I did have to lift, and this is probably my favourite section of the track. And we just get it turned into the apex at turn 10, and now the flat-out sweeper of turn 11 before heading to turn 12, which is actually a little bit of a tricky corner because it's very tempting to try and push the car a little bit wider, but you just have to remember there's grass right there. There's no small little bit of AstroTurf or anything like that. It is straight grass. This is a real classic circuit, as we're currently 6 tenths up, 5 tenths up. It's the purple middle sector as we do the run to the line. And that's going to be P1 for the moment, so hopefully we can keep it. Over time, we have now been pushed back down to P7, and we're currently about a 10th up. And just as I was saying, it's tempting to go a little bit wide there on the entry to turn 12. The grass is right there. I reckon I've only just narrowly dipped the wheel on the grass. Yeah, it's millimeters, I reckon I dipped that wheel onto the grasses. Now we do a bit of a super slow-mo just to try and show you how little room for error there is going into turn 12. So the tyre only just picks up a little bit of grass. Didn't even touch it enough for the game to register that I should be flicking up a little bit of grass debris. So in the end, very narrow margins that could have cost me possibly about a P5. I reckon I would have been roughly about there. And that's just purely based on the delta that I was showing before I made my mistake. And it's Lando Norris who gets pole position for the sprint race that we're about to head to now.
Forget pit stops. Forget fuel management. It's pedal to the metal all the way here as we get ready for today's sprint. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's sprint. Lando Norris will lead us away from pole position, and Lewis Hamilton completes the front row. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Perez, Russell, Oscar Piastri, Verstappen, the Rainmaster, Fernando Alonso, Sainz, Gasly, Albon, Leclerc, Magnussen, Hulkenberg, Stroll, Tsunoda, Ocon, Joe, Bottas, Iwasa, Sargent, and Nick de Vries. And with preparations almost complete, let's head trackside for today's sprint.
Now, strategy-wise for this sprint race, for the first time this season, I reckon it's going to be, we're going to go for the soft tyre. The soft tyre looks like they should still have some reasonable grip by the end of this 12-lap sprint. So hopefully the soft tyre will be able to last for the duration. And looking very forward to this sprint race. We're starting pretty well up the front, P7 just behind Max Verstappen. Do remember that 5-place grid penalty will not be taking place until the main Grand Prix. So wherever we finish this race, we'll be starting 5 positions back, as now we're getting ready to pull into our grid spot. But it's a bit of an awkward grid spot because it's going uphill, so I'll try not to stall out the car. And so I'm about to give it a little bit of throttle to try and get ourselves a bit closer, and I've actually overshot it, a bit too much throttle before the car stopped, and it would have failed me anyway. As now the lights are about to go out, and we're patiently on the grid, and it's lights out, and we're off before the sprint race here in Brazil. We get an alright start compared to Max Verstappen. He's going to have to brake early because he's been blocked in by Piastri. We're going to try and go around the outside of our fellow Australian, and it looks like it is Lando Norris who's going to maintain the lead ahead of Lewis Hamilton and George Russell. So it's currently a Mercedes 2-3, and McLaren is leading the way, as the other McLaren of Oscar Piastri has actually got so much straight line speed. He's just pulled away from us, which pretty much immediately. As we now take a look here, that's Lando Norris. He has still managed to maintain the lead ahead of Lewis Hamilton and George Russell. So Norris looks like he's genuinely got very good race pace at the moment as well. Even though it is only the first half of the opening lap. As ourselves, we've made an absolute dive bomb and a half back over Oscar Piastri. It looks like he was going into turn 8 where we made the move sticker. So now we're going into turn 10. We're going to make a pretty similar move onto Sergio Perez. We're going to try and give him a little bit of a squeeze. He tries to keep the nose up the inside of turn 11. But unfortunately, he just can't keep it there. So now we find ourselves into P4, and we're going to be trying to chase down George Russell now. We really want to get ourselves a podium. It's been a while since we've had a podium. I don't think we've been on it since Netherlands, actually, where we were battling for the lead after that red flag mid-race. As Pierre Gasly and Carlos Sainz are having a pretty healthy battle, but just lurking behind him in P11 is the Williams of Alex Albon, so he's going to be looking to try and pick up any scraps he can to try and get into the side of the top 10, but remember, he has to get 8th if he wants to score any points. So at the moment, Max Verstappen holds that final points-paying position, and crucially, he needs some points. He could very well claim the World Championship in this sprint race if he manages to pull off just enough of a lead. As now we've got DRS on George Russell. We've set a purple final sector, and we're going to try and go around the outside. We're not going to quite make it stick, so we have to pull in back behind him, going through turns 2 and 3. And now we get another shot at DRS. So can we make the move now into turn 4 and try and get ourselves onto the podium here in the sprint race? And we're going to send it from very far back. It's not generally a corner where you send a dive bomb because it's a bit more of a fast-flowing corner. And now heading up the hill, going into turn 6, George Russell looks like he might be wanting to try and get back around us, but he just can't do it. As now Charles Leclerc's making a move on Pierre Gasly to get himself up inside the top 10. Unfortunately, not for the points positions at the moment. Wait until the main Grand Prix for that to be a points-paying position. And ourselves, we're now 1.9 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton. So the top 2 are kind of pulling away a little bit now. So maybe just need to try and focus on defending from George Russell as Zhou Guanyu pops up on the screen as a retirement from this race. So very unfortunate for the Chinese driver. But we're running very low on battery at the moment, so I don't think we're going to be able to keep George Russell behind us for too long as he comes sailing past us. But crucially, we went through that DRS detection point behind George Russell. So hopefully, we can keep it just enough distance between us for us to not get disturbed too much by the dirty air through these first few sequence of corners, but still be able to try and make a move on George Russell. As now, we've actually got Sergio Perez trying to get past us as there's a caution up ahead. But I reckon that's just for Zhou still being parked there, as we now fast forward a few laps, and we're actually maintaining our gap to Lewis Hamilton in the end. So I thought that was going to start driving away from us, but we're actually slightly reeling into the gap as we get a bit too eager on the throttle, I reckon that was, or we just lost the rear end. But that was a mega save from us to try and not also overcorrect it and throw us into the wall on the other side. But for the moment, we maintain P3, but I reckon that's going to ruin our momentum for the moment. And George Russell could very well be close enough once again to try and get back by us. So will he overtake us before the DRS detection point? Yes, it will. So this is very much a Sergio Perez at Austria moment. As remember, he tried to make an overtake a few times and didn't quite understand what the DRS detection point was. So he kept losing DRS and ultimately losing the position. As now this is Oscar Piastri. He's slowing down, and that's an engine failure for our fellow Australian, and he's actually cutting across the track. And was there contact made there with Pierre Gasly? I saw a bit of debris, and I don't think I saw a front wing on the front of that Alpine when he just went by a moment ago. As we now take a look at the replay, and yeah, that's pretty substantial contact with the back of the McLaren, so that would put Pierre Gasly right at the back, unfortunately. And we've actually got a battle now between Alex Albon and Nico Hülkenberg. So Hülkenberg's actually doing a pretty good drive now through the field as well. He started a little bit further back, so he's caught up to the back of Alex Albon and got by him, and to take that top 10 position away that Albon would have inherited from the Gasly incident and Piastri incident as well. And for us, we're going to end up finishing P3, so pretty good to get a podium as well. Lando Norris takes the dub in this sprint race. So Lando Norris is proven probably to be the favourite for the Grand Prix now. He managed to keep the Mercedes with Lewis Hamilton behind, who's probably arguably in one of the faster cars as well. Both of them in that top 5 battle pack in that performance chart. And there you are. It's Norris from Hamilton than ourselves. George Russell, Perez, Alonso, Verstappen, and Carlos Sainz will round out the points. Charles Leclerc just missing out on points as one of the championship contenders as well. But I reckon from some math, that's it. Max Verstappen has claimed his 3rd world championship. He's those couple of points was enough to clinch the world championship for him this season. So he joins a couple of greats with the names of Nelson Piquet and Ayrton Senna to have 3 world championships, and that puts him equal 6th in the all-time championships list.
Formula One returns to Interlagos once again with the stage set for what promises to be another classic Sao Paulo Grand Prix. Sebastian Vettel famously clinched his 3rd championship here in 2012, and just 4 years later, Max Verstappen treated us to one of the finest wet weather drives of all time. Interlagos, always a very special race here in Brazil, It's a 2.7-mile circuit with 9 lefts and 6 rights, for a total of 15 corners. The fastest lap today should have an average speed of around 135 miles per hour, if, of course, the weather stays dry until the end of the Grand Prix. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Lando Norris will lead us away from pole position, just ahead of George Russell, who starts this event from P2. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Perez, Fernando Alonso, Sainz, the Rainmaster, Leclerc, Hulkenberg, Stroll, Ocon, Bottas, Iwasa, Magnussen, Sargent, De Vries, Tsunoda, Gasly, Hamilton, Albon, Verstappen, Oscar Piastri, and Zhou Guanyu. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head down trackside for today's race. Anthony Davidson, a very warm welcome to you as you join me in the commentary box for today's event. What a season they've had, a well-deserved championship victory, and the pressure now is surely off with the title already in the bag.
It really is well-deserved. I wouldn't say it's been a faultless title challenge, but certainly one that has been consistent and well-managed. Here's hoping they let off a bit of steam today and give us an exciting race.
So a few other drivers also received penalties in the end. So we should have been starting P8, but end up we're going to start P6 in the end. So that's a very lucky breakthrough, which keeps us a full row ahead of where we probably should have been. But for our strategy-wise, we're going to be starting on the medium tyre. Everyone else around us actually seems to be on the soft compound tyre. So hopefully we can get a half-decent start and just try and maintain our position. I don't think we'll be improving our position too much, considering we're on the slower compound, but hopefully we can just maintain this position. And then once again, as I've said in previous episodes, it's really important for us to try and get these tyres nice and toasty warm, as our grip will have to start to come to us rather than just go straight off the bat, and we absolutely nail the parking spot this time round, as now we get ready for the lights to start going out and they build up. It's 4-5 red lights and we are away for the Brazilian Grand Prix. We actually get a pretty good start. Sergio Perez gets an absolute shocker. He's on the hard tyre actually, and so we swing to the outside line and we could very well get ourselves into P3 straight off the bat here. And as we now on the inside of George Russell through turn 2, turn 3, and George Russell has actually had a terrible exit, so he's dropping back like an absolute fly. And now it's time for us to try and chase down the leaders of Lando Norris and Fernando Alonso. Where did Alonso come from? He wasn't anywhere near us, I don't think, within the top 10, so in the sprint race. So this is an absolute, it's just incredible that he's managed to get himself up to P2 already, as Carlos Sainz sends it up the inside of George Russell. So Russell's not had a great start, as now this is Charles Leclerc. He's trying to make a move on Sergio Perez, who's on the hard tyre, so he's definitely looking to go long in this first opening stint, as he's had to leave the door open a little bit, as Perez has managed to keep his nose just in there. But the straight line speed of this Ferrari straight off the corner, it seems to give him a little bit of an edge, but then ultimately the straight line speed of the Red Bull just gives Perez that inside line once again, and they're going to actually maintain this side by side. So I wonder who's going to have to let out first going into turn 6, and it is Charles Leclerc who's going to ultimately get the position in the end, as now back on board with us, we've caught up to the back of Fernando Alonso. So I was thinking Alonso should have actually been able to get by Lando Norris. He's on the soft tyre compared to Norris's medium. But anyway, so we've got so much pace going through turn 6 and turn 7 that we're actually going to use this momentum and send it down the inside of Fernando Alonso at turn 8. And that has now put us in the prime position to try and get Lando Norris. And it just looks like Fernando's got no pace on his soft compound tyres. Now we're looking ahead at Sergio Perez, and he's going very slow at the moment. Is this another engine failure for a Red Bull powered car? And it sure is. He's pulling off to the side of the track, and there's another retirement for the Red Bull. And him slowing up has actually created this almighty battle pack. So even our teammate Iwasa, he's in this. He's a P11 at the moment, so he's doing really well to get himself just outside the points at the moment. He's yet to score points this season, as now we've got another wicked run going through those two corners. We're going to send another dive bomb going into turn 8, so that's probably been my favourite passing opportunity so far. And if you saw there in the top left corner, Fernando Alonso, the cheeky boy, he's also got himself up into P2. He's taken advantage of Lando Norris being a bit wide. And this is George Russell now. He's under attack from Carlos Sainz, and Sainz is going to be going... Oh, sorry, Charles Leclerc, actually. Charles Leclerc's going down the inside of George Russell. So George Russell's losing more and more positions as the race goes on. And back to us now. We haven't been able to pull away from Fernando Alonso. Those soft tyres must be starting to come back to him, because he's now going to be trying to go around our outside with the help of DRS. But we're just going to give a little squeeze, cut off his exit, and we're going to maintain the lead for the moment, as now his teammate Stroll is making his move up the field on those soft compound tyres as well. He's got by Nico Hülkenberg in the Haas as well. As now we're going to be under attack. It's been a few laps, and we've managed to maintain our gap and just adjust our pace accordingly to keep him at bay. But Fernando Alonso this time's got too much pace going down the main straight, so we've had to let him by at turn 4, and now he's got the lead. But ultimately, only a lap and a half later, we've now got DRS, and so we should be now making the move on Fernando Alonso. We're going to look around the outside, but he's going to give us a little bit of a squeeze. He's going to slightly miss his apex, but we're just going to have the better pace overall and be able to get back around. Oh, the curb unsettled the car a little bit, so I had to back out the throttle, so that's going to give Fernando Alonso a bit of an edge now as well. So with the power of DRS and our bad run through the corner, him and Lando Norris are both going to try and get around us, but we're going to maintain our position on both of them at the moment. As now, this is Max Verstappen, and I don't think he was actually eyeing up a move there. I reckon Valtteri Bottas just locked up and has allowed Max Verstappen 3 into the points now. And as we do a bit of an order check now, as the field settled down a bit, we find ourselves leading this Grand Prix from Fernando Alonso and Lando Norris. With the two Ferraris of Sainz and Leclerc 4th and 5th, and then George Russell has had a horrid start, and he finds himself P6 at the moment. Stroll 7th, Hülkenberg, Ocon, and then Max Verstappen, our world champion, is in P10 at the moment from Valtteri Bottas, Kevin Magnussen. Lewis Hamilton not in the points. He finished P2 in the sprint, so it's a bit strange to see him down in P13, not really making his way through the field. Pierre Gasly, Logan Sargent, the two AlphaTauris of De Vries and Tsunoda, and then Joe Piastri after that engine failure in the sprint race. He's a bit further back as well. And now we're currently looking... This is a pit stop phase, so Fernando Alonso, he's going to be looking to get the undercut on us, and he's going on the medium tyres, so I wonder if they reckon these mediums can actually last to the end of the race, and we're going to keep going, and so is Lando Norris, so we're going to be trying to extend this stint a little bit, but we'll have to try and manage the gap and watch the gap, as this Carlos Sainz is also boxing, as we'll actually get distracted from the message from Mark popping up to say to box this lap, and I completely missed the part where Lando Norris was going to send a dive bomb on us, so I was completely unprepared for that. Didn't even bother defending, as I didn't think it was actually close enough. But anyways, we're going to maintain our P2 position going into the pits, as I was hoping to try and get some DRS off of him as we leave the pits, and we're going to make sure we're going nice and slow. This pit lane entry is notorious for speeding in the pit lane, so hopefully the crew can do a good stop and try and see if we can't jump Lando Norris. But I think the gap between us going into pit lane was probably just a little bit too big. As we pull in, it's meant to be a 2.4 stop. It's a 2.4 stop. Oh, but we've had to be held. We had to be held to let Lando Norris go through, and that's actually extended the gap. So now hopefully we can maximize our pit entry. But look on the minimap, Fernando Alonso has actually pulled off the undercut. Will he be able to get past the McLaren of Lando Norris as well? And that looks like one of the Ferraris next to us. And there's two markers there. It's actually both Ferraris, so that's completely caught me off guard to see both Ferraris there, as they're going to battle side by side through there, and we're going to be trying to immediately get past them. And so by going along, we've actually lost out massively. And so using our fresh grip at the moment, we're going to send it into our favourite corner, turn 8, and we're going to make it a very easy move on Charles Leclerc. So now, time to try and see how far back into the field we can actually go. But at the moment, these hard tyres aren't really clicking with us, and we're 1.3 seconds back from Carlos Sainz, and Charles Leclerc is actually going to get back by us as now George Russell comes into the pits. So George Russell's really extended that stint on his medium tyres, as now Max Verstappen is getting past Nico Hülkenberg, well, attempting to at the moment. He's going to hang out around the outside to give himself the inside line for turn 2, but Nico Hülkenberg's not having any of it at the moment. But this should give DRS back to Max Verstappen, but neither Hülkenberg or Verstappen's got DRS, so it's going to be 3 wide with Ocon as well going into turn 4. A little bit of contact's made, but Max Verstappen gets the move done, and now it looks like Ocon's going to be trying to get past Nico Hülkenberg as well. So Hülkenberg went from trying to defend from Max Verstappen. He could very well lose 2 positions here, and he does lose 2 positions here. Ocon gets the move completed at turn 6. As now we're trying to get back by Charles Leclerc, and this is going to be for P4, but we have to be careful because George Russell's on fresh hearts as well, and he's closing in the gap actually quite rapidly. He was about 2.5 seconds behind us at one stage, and within a couple of laps he's now nearly within our DRS, so we have to try and make sure we get past Charles Leclerc nice and quick, and we're going to send it around the outside. We actually pretty much had the move done during the braking zone, so we get this move done, and so now it's time to try and see if we can't chase down Carlos Sainz at all. And this is Lewis Hamilton. I wonder if a little bit of contact was there made with Nico Hülkenberg, but Hülkenberg's dropping down the field massively. So this is going to be Hamilton getting himself up into P9, so a very strong recovery drive at the moment considering it was P13 a while back. As now Charles Leclerc, it looks like he's now under attack from George Russell, so this is why I was concerned about not being able to get past Charles Leclerc for a while, because George Russell seems like he's actually got a little bit of pace on these hard tyres, but Charles Leclerc's doing very well to defend from George Russell as well, but George Russell should get the DRS now, and this should become a very easy move into turn 4. Charles Leclerc's not going to make it easy though. He's defended very hard, so they're both going in on a very shallow line, and George Russell ends up completing the move as we now take a look at Charles Leclerc, and he's trying to get back at George Russell, so these two are going to battle it all the way to the end. For P5 in the end, it is the final lap of the race. We were trying for so long to get back to P3 in the end, but Carlos Sainz will finish P3, and it's a first win for Lando Norris as well. But in the end, we're going to have to settle for P4. I really wanted another podium. That would have been so good to have a double podium. But hats off to Lando Norris. He was extremely quick this race. Pretty much led the sprint and the main Grand Prix from start to finish. So very much deserved win for Lando.
Brilliant stuff from McLaren today. What a superb victory. Anthony Davidson, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
I feel like consistency was probably the key today. There's being quick, and then there's being quick lap after lap after lap. If you can do that, you can capitalise on other people's errors without making many of your own. And that's an approach that can push you a long way up the field.
As the winners make their way up to the podium, one can only imagine the celebrations that will take place at McLaren tonight. Congratulations to everyone on the team, securing the win and proving that they're a force to be reckoned with out on the track.
So big kudos to Lando Norris for getting his first ever win in Formula 1. Unfortunately for us, we couldn't convert to another podium. I just reckon in the end, the better strategy would have been for us to start on a set of soft tyres and then go to the mediums, or even go to the hards, try and extend that hard tyre stint. We could have got a mad undercut, but we would have been under threat with worn tyres at the end. So I reckon the strategy may have just upset us a little bit during that race. The undercut seemed to be very strong here. But in the end, Max Verstappen has done well here to go from last to P8. And we can't forget Lewis Hamilton, P18 to P7. So there's been some very strong drives through the field this race as well. Max Verstappen, as we saw in the sprint race, has clinched the World Drivers' Championship only just. And if we'll have a look for the battle at second place, 3 points separate Hamilton, Leclerc and Sainz. So a very big battle for P2 in the championship at the moment, and there's only 5 points separating us and Fernando Alonso for P8 in the championship as well. And then only 10 points as well to P7 in the championship. Red Bull are 14 points ahead of Ferrari, and so there's pretty much a top 3 battle with 37 points separating the top 3 in the championship, and we're 34 points behind McLaren. And as we head back to the HQ, we've actually got some stuff to deal with in the powertrain department, as it seems, as we'll go to that, and it's looking like they want Iwasa to do a couple of things for us, and we just have to make the final decision of what he should do. But ultimately, I think we need to try and work on himself at the moment. R&D points are not a big thing for us at the moment, so if you can spend some more time in the simulator, that will be very beneficial, I reckon, as well. And just quickly there on the screen as well, in the aerodynamics section as well, we're going to be upgrading the beam wing, try and give ourselves a bit more re-downforce. Remember, we had that massive issue going through turn 11 during the sprint race, so hopefully we can try and mitigate these sort of issues. So if you did enjoy this episode, please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode where we race around Vegas.